the secretary Rodrigo Rangel wrote Hernando Soto's expedition with the giant in a diary. He traveled with more than 600 men in between North Florida to Georgia and western Alabama. The American native chief Tuscaloosa was a tall and handsome giant. As Soto and his men entered the village, the Spaniards invaded. Many difficult words here, really.
It's okay. You're doing fine.
Sorry. Their properties and burned the buildings while killing many people. Chief Tuscaloosa was nowhere to be found. The Mississippi mound builders had decreased when the Spaniards occupied the land. The Native Americans of the Southwest were no longer known for their own great-great-grandfather who constructed the mounds. Their history was not recognized anymore. From Oklahoma to northern Georgia, there were explorations of mounds discovered, constants of shells, ceramics, and pipestones.
Oh, Santa, go back.
Axes. When the conquistador ruled the land, there was a sole group of southern Native Americans who were able to track their higher tag of the mound builders, known as the Natchez, and together with the
Santa,
you need to read. I think
It's okay, but we're just missing it from Santa. Santa, did you not get it?
No, I didn't.
Like my read.
Yeah, can you, so Mahmoud, can you continue to copy from the nachos, or the Natchez, not the nachos? Do you see what Santa has? She only has up to there. The copy paste section is a little bit small.
I sent it an email. Okay. Known as.
And so far you're doing a very thorough summary. Now remember, everybody, we did summaries, we practiced summaries a long time ago. The art of the summary is to tell the story in a very short amount of words. And there's the difficult thing is choosing the words. Obviously, the more difficult the words, the more difficult the summary. Mahmoud has chapter 3, which is one of the most difficult chapters. Lots of names, lots of numbers, and that's going to make it pretty tough. He's doing a very good job, though. All right, Santa, can you highlight the Natchez again so that we can see known as the Natchez? Do you see that there? Right in the middle. Yeah, okay. Keep going, Mahmoud. Please keep going.
Known as the Natchez, and together with the Choctaw and Chickasaw tribes, they tracked their natural trail with the migration bison, deer, and other animals, which later became the same route that Lewis and Clark made famous with their kingdom, which occupied the delta to the swamps of Louisiana. These stories are found in the writings of French Jewish ceremonies where the Nazis lost against the French back in 1729. There have been recordings of tall giant-like people in the Department of Education Simpson Institution record all this history.
Very good, very good, very good. Lots of difficult words. Everybody's complaining about this. Too bad. This is tough stuff, but I want you to muscle through. So far, we've had several books that were too easy, too nice. So I included, at the end, we're going to talk about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That's easy. That's candy. That's a lot of candy, as Robert said. But first, I want to go through the tough stuff. Santa, take me back to the beginning of Mahmoud's good, and put it on one page so we don't have this break in the middle. Yeah, exactly. That's right, Marwa. It's a miracle to write a summary for this chapter. Bravo. I agree. This is a very tough chapter. Mahmoud, you did a super job. Mahmoud, I'm going to fix your grammar later. It's a big section, so I'm going to fix it later, and then I'll send it to Santa, okay?
Okay.
But I'm going to read what you have just so everybody can see the pronunciation. Yeah, you can make it small for me. Good, that's fine. Yep, that's fine. Okay, so it's going to be hard to read, everybody, but just listen. In 1539, actually, Santa, let's make it so people can hear it. You're just going to have to watch it with me. Make it bigger. A little bit bigger. Keep going, keep going. One more, one more. Fill up the screen. Go ahead. One more, please. Okay, fine. I'll deal with it. Chapter 3. In 1539, the Secretary Rodrigo Rangel wrote Hernando Soto's expedition with the giants in a diary. So I'm going to change the grammar there, but he wrote a diary and told about Hernando Soto's giants. Hernando Soto was a Spanish explorer. So he was exploring the land of the United States, America, and he saw these giants, and he wrote about them in a diary. He traveled with more than 600 men, 600 soldiers, from North Florida to Georgia and western Alabama. And I wish we had a map, but basically I'll give you, oh, I can't do that. Anyway, that's okay. So the southern part of the United States. The American native chief, the American Indian chief, Tuscaloosa, was a tall and handsome giant. He was an Indian. They met him in Alabama. He was tall and handsome. As Soto and his men entered Tuscaloosa's village, another village, it was actually a different village, the Spaniards, the Spanish soldiers, invaded their properties and burned the buildings and killed many, many Indians. Chief Tuscaloosa escaped. He was nowhere to be found. These people were the Mississippi Mound Builders. The Mississippi Mound Builders had decreased when the Spaniards came and took the land. The Native Americans of the Southeast, the American Indians of the Southeast, were no longer known for their own history, their own great-great-grandfathers who constructed the mounds. The connection between the Indians and the mounds was lost. Their history was not recognized anymore, even by them. They forgot it. From Oklahoma to northern Georgia, there were explorations of mounds. Inside the mounds, discovering shells from the ocean, ceramics, pottery, and pipestones for stoves and for smoking, and copper axes, very sophisticated things they discovered in the mounds. These are things, especially ceramics and copper axes, these are things that American Indians were not supposed to have. When the conquistadors, the Spanish soldiers, ruled the land, There was a sole group of southeastern Native Americans who were able to trace their heritage to the mound builders. So when the Spanish soldiers ruled America, there was only one group of Indians known as the Natchez who could actually remember their history going back to the mound builders. And the Natchez included other Indians like the Choctaw and Chickasaw. So the Natchez were like the Americans, and then the Choctaw were the New Yorkers, and the Chickasaw were the Florida tribes. That's the idea. Those people could actually remember their oral history back to the mound builders. These people were great hunters, and they had a trail, a natural trail, and they made this natural trail because of the bison and the deer and other animals which would go up and down this same road. So they would share the same road, the natural road, as the bison and deer. And later, America's two most famous explorers, Lewis and Clark, made their trail on the same trail the Indians used, which was the same trail the deer and bison and other animals used. And along this trail are where we find the mounds. This is where the mounds are. It goes from Louisiana, the swamps, to Louisiana, from Florida to Louisiana, up to North Dakota, South Dakota, out to Oregon. All of these stories are found in, stories about these people are found in the writings of French Jesuit. That just means a Jesuit is a Catholic priest, a French Catholic priest, Pierre Charlevoix, where the Natchez lost against the French back in 1729. So this is Lewis and Clark is 1800. The French and the Indians 1700s, a long time ago. So the French guy wrote about the Natchez and wrote about the mounds in 1729. So in 1800, when Lewis and Clark started their exploration, they had some information. So they knew that there were tall giants in the 1800s. And these guys were responsible for working with the Smithsonian Institution, and somewhere in the Smithsonian Institution, they have all this information too, but they don't teach it. Once again, tribes, Indian tribes, including members of the Choctaw, the Creek, the Cherokee, adopted European culture. They changed their Indian culture and assimilated to the European culture. They made buildings and churches, started education. They fit in by building buildings and churches and making a government similar to the United States. President Jefferson had a plan to get rid of all the Indians. He wanted their land. He even sent a letter to the governor of Indiana explaining how to take away the Indian land. They called it a land exchange. But their idea was, let's make the Indians adopt our culture. Let's have them love capitalism and free trade and agriculture. Let's have them go into debt by borrowing money, and the only way they can pay their debt is to give us their land. That way we can take all of the land, we can get rid of the Indians, and we can rewrite history. And that's what the next sentence. He believed in the European influence by removing the native Indians out of their land. Powell, one of Jefferson's predecessors after Jefferson, however, he did believe in preserving the natives, but later he also changed and wanted to take over the land. So right now, as it stands, we may not be able to identify who built the mounds because the U.S. government took over the Indian land and destroyed the evidence. but it's possible that they did know 200 years ago. So 200 years ago, the Smithsonian Institute probably did know who built the mounds, but they cover that information. They don't share that information. And that's what the first story was about. Does that make sense, everybody? Is everybody sleeping? I hope not. Mahmoud, you did an excellent job. Very, very difficult task. Robert, go ahead.
Sorry for interrupting. I would ask about my piece of summary. I tried to write summary about chapter 2. I've sent it to the last meeting, to the Santa, I think, but it was for the first time my writing, so I'm just asking about if you will have some time to check my writing.
Yeah, Santa says she didn't see anything. So Robert, please send it again. Now, everybody, Santa gets a lot of mail. So if it's just an RE response, she might miss it. So Robert, in the subject line, put summary of chapter 2 and send it to Santa, and we'll make sure that not only we look at it, but we fix it and we include it in the next letter, okay?
Great, thanks.
You bet, you bet.
I think Amir's new here and
Amir is new. Hi, Amir. Welcome.
Eva's back.
Eva, a long time no see. Rehab says a guest came to my home. I was off for a while. Okay, so she's back. Good, good. Amir, how you doing?
Hi, Coach. Hi.
Good to hear you.
It's nice to meet you, Coach. It's my first time here, and I'm very happy.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Where are you from?
I'm from Iran.
Iran. We don't have many students from Iran. It's good to have you.
Good. Thank you, Coach. Thank you. It's nice to meet you.
Same here. We got a big group today. Let's go ahead and continue. And basically, it's going to be boring for the first part. I apologize, everybody. Amir, please mute your mic. Thank you. Okay, so the next story was Lewis and Clark and the Journey West. Lewis and Clark and the Journey West. Santa, can you find a map for Lewis and Clark and their Journey West? And can you put that in your script? And then I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to take it from you. I'll see if I can. I'm going to take it from Santa right now. I'll see if I can find a map that I like. Show Lewis and Clark. Okay. I don't. Is this a good one? That's too. This is a good one. Yeah, this is pretty good. It's a little bit small, but this is pretty good. So I'm going to make my screen big. Okay. So. Once again, Lewis and Clark are two American guys, and they're pretty interesting guys. Lewis was a childhood friend of Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson is one of America's first presidents. He's a founding father. Americans really loved Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson and Lewis Clark, they were very rich boys, good education, and they believed in America, and their dream for America was expansion. So when Lewis and Clark, this was America, New York, Massachusetts, Boston, just this area, Pennsylvania, this was the United States of America. Down here in Florida and the South, we had lots of farming, but it wasn't really part of the United States. Anyway, we had lots of people living here, Within basically 100 kilometers of the ocean was all American people, all European people. And after 100 kilometers, it's all Indians, very dangerous territory, very dangerous neighborhoods. So the United States, Thomas Jefferson, the government, They wanted to expand. They wanted to keep moving this way, to grow America, to keep growing and keep growing. But there's a problem. The Indians. This was the Indian land, so they needed to get this land, and they had many methods. Some people wanted to kill all the Indians to get the land, and they did that. Thomas Jefferson was a little nicer. He wanted to have the Indians develop American culture, well, not American culture, but capitalist culture, and have them go into debt, and then because they have debt, and I'll spell that debt, D-E-B-T, you know, when they owe money, by going into debt, the only way they can pay the debt is with land. Okay, so they would do that. They would get the Indians, they would build them a house, they would build them a school, they would give them clothes, they would give them guns, they would give them everything. And the Indians are living very nice, they're living like rich people, but then one day the bank says, hey, you have to pay. And the Indian says, I don't have any money. I have a nice house, I have, you know, nice equipment, nice clothes, good education, but I don't have any money. And the bank says, well, why don't you just give us this land and then it's okay. You don't use the land anyway. You live in a house now. You don't farm. You don't need the land. And the Indians, most of them, said okay. They did that. And that's how Thomas Jefferson got this land. He got lots and lots of land. Now this part of the land was actually owned by the French, by King Louis. And the French army was in here, and they tried to clean a lot of stuff out to make it French. Lots of people spoke French down here. This is very French speaking. Still today in America, people speak French down here. And Thomas Jefferson was a pretty smart businessman, and he negotiated deal, and he bought this land. He actually paid money for this land, and it's called the Louisiana Purchase. This huge piece of land he bought for very cheap. I think it was $25 million for all of this land. Incredible. And this, Thomas Jefferson bought this land in order to expand the United States. The same dream, expand the United States. Thomas Jefferson was thinking that the Mississippi River right here, all the land on this side was exactly the same on this side. And people said, yeah, it's symmetrical. The land here is the same as the land here. So he said, great, we can really double the size of America. Well, as they sent more and more explorers, they discovered these huge mountains, and then they discovered this desert, so it was really difficult. So Thomas Jefferson said, okay, all we want to do is have this area. But they don't know about this area, so he found his friend Lewis, and he said, hey, Lewis, will you please help expand America? Will you please help explore this area in America and help us to expand? So Lewis did, and Lewis found another guy, his name was Clark, to help him out. So these two guys went into Indian territory, very, very tough Indian territory, and came all the way here and then went all the way back. That was the idea, to help map, to make maps of this land so that the United States could make formal plans to expand. That's the idea. That's what Lewis and Clark were. They were Thomas Jefferson's employees. Their job was to go here into this newly purchased Louisiana Purchase to explore the land so that they could make a map so that the United States could form a plan of expansion. All of the culture, all of the stories, all of the mysteries, all of the mounds, all of the crazy things they saw were not important. Actually, those stories, those things had to be covered because they're so crazy, they're so scary. If they didn't cover them, if they didn't destroy them, people would not expand. So that's what they did. Not only was there a mission to expand America, but to give the story that it's beautiful and safe and you don't have to worry about it. So that chapter, Lewis and Clark and the Journey West, was an introduction to these guys and what they were supposed to do. Okay, does everybody follow me? Does that make sense? Any questions about this?
It's okay for now.
Okay, good.
Much better than the book.
Oh, that's nice. Eva, go ahead.
Oh, yes. Hello, everyone. I'm sorry for not being here for 2 times.
We missed you.
Okay. Thank you. I wanted to say that first I thought that I give up with this book because I started with the preface and introduction, and I was really, okay, I was in a jungle. So then I started to work on this first chapter, but I think that it's in too many details for me, for example, because okay, I am interested in history too, but I don't think it's important for me to know all the names, all
Right.
the and when I was through these 2 chapters, the 3rd and the 4th, so the most the thing which influenced me the most was this Indian removal, this plan,
Right.
how to, so, and it was quite understandable for me.
That's great.
So,
You know,
later it will be more interesting, but as I usually do in such books, I'm not trying to remember all the names which
Good.
are not so important, and so this way. But I hope that I get something new.
Very good. That's a really good point, everybody. Like Eva said, there are too many names, too many, it's proper nouns, names, locations will get very, very, very confusing. The easiest thing to do when you listen to this book is just look at a map and just look at this map, the Lewis and Clark map. You might want to have some states on there. If you have, you know, the names of the states, that might help. But don't worry about the people. The only people you need to know are basically Lewis and Clark and Thomas Jefferson. That's enough. You can look other people up if you want, but those 3 people, if you know them, that's enough. That's all Americans know. Americans don't know about Powell and about De Soto. They know a little bit about De Soto, but the French Jesuit, nobody knows him. Nobody. Very, very few people. So the names, yeah, don't worry too much about that. I want to say, I want you guys to understand something very important and very a little bit controversial. And I'm going to take the the screen from Santa again. And yeah, I'll just go back to the map. So I want you guys to understand that the U.S. government really did create a plan to take the Native Americans' land, okay? And they created a plan to take the land, and they knew this plan would take over 100 years. They actually created a plan, a non-violent plan, a plan based on economics, a plan based on culture, to get into the Indians and to create the dilemma for the Indians so that they have to give up their culture to the Western invaders. Now, this is, some people will say it's a conspiracy, but it's not a conspiracy. It's actually true. It was a 100-year plan to peacefully destroy a civilization. That's what it was. And these plans, everybody, still exist. Obviously, the American Indians are gone. But I guarantee you, other governments, maybe the same governments, absolutely have plans to take over other parts of the world, to take over other parts of cultures and things like that. Without a question, we have these plans. So when you hear about conspiracy theory, it's funny, it's hilarious. Come on, nobody makes a 3-generation plan. Thomas Jefferson created a plan that only his great-great-grandson could enjoy. He wasn't going to be able to have any benefit. His son, no benefit. His grandson, no benefit. But his great-great-grandson would see the benefit. These are amazing plans. And believe me, there are governments around the world who do create and are creating and are implementing these plans. So it's something that is a long time ago, but these things still exist. So there's a lot to think about with this story. Okay, now I'm going to stop the history. It's horrible, Marwa. There's no question. So I mean, Marwa says this plan is brutal. It's a brutal policy of Indian removal. Like I said, this was and I'm going to
I don't want to say that. I said beside this plan there is a brutal policy against the Indian.
But even Jefferson's peaceful plan was to destroy the Indian culture, and if they died, whatever. Okay, so when you talk about invading another country or taking over another country, there is no peaceful way. Even Jefferson's peaceful plan destroyed everything. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to give you the assignment for next week, and the assignment for next week is Chapter 5 and Chapter 6. And I know that many of you are going to die, but I want you to try. So I want you to choose either Chapter 5 or Chapter 6. It'll be easier for you doing one or the other. If you do both, great job. We're not going to meet. It'll be 2 weeks later. If you do both, great job, but choosing one is enough. Chapter 5 is called Prince Madoc, Welsh Natives, and the Legends of Mandan. Very interesting. Chapter 6, Voyagers of the Pacific Coast and the Kennewick Man. Extremely interesting. Very, very, very interesting stories. And I think many of you guys have the book. Having the book and the audio book will help so much. But remember, even if you don't have the book, as you listen, just listen. Don't worry too much about names. Have a map. Maybe having a map will help you kind of see where things are happening. The point of this story, everybody, the point of this book is Lewis and Clark. Lewis was murdered. In the end, he was murdered. And this book is kind of like, why? Why was Lewis murdered? What information did he have is the idea. People think that he may have known too much information and therefore he was murdered. Now that's a conspiracy, but that's the idea of this book. It's to look at history, to look at what Lewis and Clark discovered, and to find out maybe why Lewis was married. So that's the end of the history. Now it's the fun stuff, and I give my mic and my screen back to Santa. Santa, have some, so what's the fun stuff about Santa?
You mean the chocolate factory?
Yes, I mean the chocolate factory.
Everybody read it, right? I mean, listen to it.
You have to ask.
I think, Amara, did you listen to it?
I listened to the first 14 or 5 minutes, but I watched the movie. Yeah, I watched the movie.
Yeah, Robert listened to it, I see. The Marwa, like, you watched the Johnny Depp movie?
Yeah, really good.
Oh, cool.
Mhm.
I listened to it. I liked it. I didn't really listen to the history book. Sorry. That was too much.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So everybody, I want you guys to recognize this book.
Because I didn't have a credit in Audible at, for most of the last 2 weeks.
Right. So everybody, I want you to recognize this audiobook actually has 5 stories. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is the first story, and that's what we're doing this time. Next week, we're going to do James and the Giant Peach. Santa, do you have the minutes on these?
I need to go fetch my phone. Would you like me to do that?
Yeah, please. I know some of these books are very short, so we're going to do this over the next month. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was actually 1 hour. And what's really great about this audiobook is Roald Dahl does it. It's his voice, not Roald, which is very nice when you have the author doing it. However, unfortunately, he's got a bit of a British pronunciation, which sometimes can make it a little bit tough. But anyway, the story is absolutely lovely, and hopefully you understand it. I have a problem with finding this collection on Audible. I found each story. Okay, so here we go. So what we're going to do this week was obviously Chapter 1, 1 hour and 6 minutes. Next week will be Chapter 2, 1 hour and 1 minute. Next week, sorry, 2 weeks later. After that, we're going to do Fantastic Mr. Fox. Is that what the name is? And then the final one will have 2 chapters. That'll be the Enormous Crocodile and the Magic Finger. I think that's what it is. So those 2 will go together. So this time Chapter 1, next time Chapter 2, the next time Chapter 3, and the time after that Chapter 4 and Chapter 5 together. So Marwa, that should give you plenty of time to keep your credits, and then you'll have probably an extra credit so we can get a couple of books after that. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So Santa has listened to Chapter 1, and who wants to give a summary? Who else has listened? Who wants to just a simple story summary? Marwa? Okay, Marwa, go for it. Santa chose you, so Marwa, you're on the you're on the spotlight.
No, I don't have a summary.
Marwa, you're not invited next week.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I was so busy this week. Please forgive me.
Everybody's busy. Santa, go ahead.
Robert says he will.
Robert, you're awesome. Go ahead, Robert. Turn your mic on. We'll see. So Robert, my question is, are you going to write a summary or are you going to tell us your summary?
The first question is if those chapters are the part of the first story or
No. Okay.
there are a story.
Yes. So the actual story, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, is several hours long. But in this book, it's called an abridged version, which means a shortened version. So amazingly, Roald Dahl took Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and made it into a 1-hour story. So it's the entire story. It's the whole thing.
Okay, so I think I have a problem because on my side I can only find Charlie and Chocolate Factory as a whole story, as a one book, audiobook.
Right.
And I use my one credit for this. I can't find this collection, so
okay.
I can write a summary for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Okay, hold on a second. Santa, do you remember, wasn't there a way that people could get into the American Amazon site so that they could find the books? Do you remember who was talking?
Edit used to use that. She like kind of created, like, you know, took an address. You know, basically she had a sister or something in the U.S. and she used her address to, like, you know, just to get the book, but then actually have it delivered to her phone.
Okay. So, Robert, one thing you can do, you might want to try, Robert, is signing up to Audible with a U.S. address. It can be pretty much anything. Because it's an audio book, you're not going to have anything sent to you in the mail. And then you'll be able to use the U.S. Amazon or U.S. Audible service and find the U.S. books. One thing nice about Audible is you can return books. Of course, it's not a nice thing to do if you enjoyed it, but it is possible. So, Robert, you might want to try doing that. Try changing your address or making a new account with a fake American address, and then you should be able to get into the U.S. Audible system, and then you can get the book on your phone. Does that make sense, Robert?
I will have I will have to try because you have to give a credit card as a payment,
right.
And if you're giving, they can see your location.
Yes, but you could argue like you could say something. Yes, my son lives in America, so I'll be buying his audiobooks. I live over here, but he lives over there, so he doesn't have a credit card, so that's why I'm doing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is a precedent, so give it a try and see what happens.
All right.
So you actually listened to the entire story. Can you give us a 2-minute or 3-minute summary of the entire Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Robert?
Oh, surprising.
Yeah, I know. The pressure's on. The pressure's on.
Yeah.
Oh, look at Marwa's done. Marwa did it in 3 sentences.
3 minutes, I think it's a little time, but the main impression was great. Very touching story, showing some different kind of children that was made by their parents. So we can see some, we can say, bad type of
personality.
Yeah, but I thought rather about what parents do with their children, how they showing how to live. And those 4 children are great show of some not good behavior.
So those 4 children represent their parents' terrible lifestyle.
Yeah, we can say that. One boy has a hobby eating, yeah, eat everything, eat, and much of it. Yeah. One is still watching TV and can't see anything but TV.
He's a TV addict.
Yeah, the name is something about TV. I can't remember now what was the name, but it was something TV, this boy. The third girl was something about chewing gum, but I not really understand this whole picture of this girl.
She was arrogant.
Arrogant. I see. Yeah, that was really. It was easy to see that she behaved so arrogant.
Yes.
The fourth. What was the fourth child?
The rich kid.
Oh yeah, it was girl, I think, and she always want everything now.
Yes, want.
Yeah.
Spoiled child, the spoiled child.
Yeah. And the fifth child was Charlie, really good, loving type boy, compassionate, really good boy. It was pleasure to hear how he talked to grandpa, grandma, to his parents, to Mr. Wonky. Just completely different boy that live in a very poor family. And of course, we have a miracle. He find the last gold ticket, and that's the occasion for him to visit factory, Mr. Willy Wonka.
So he goes to the factory, and why were these children invited to the factory?
It was for some kind of competition to receive a huge truck of sweets. I think so. I hear baby.
So I'm curious. And maybe this is the movie difference. Was Willy Wonka wanting to retire, so he was looking for a new president of the company, or was it just a prize?
Willy, on the ticket was written that only one child will receive a huge amount of sweets. So that was kind of competition, but at the end he said that the real thing it was to find someone to give this factory, to run this factory in the future.
Got it. Thank you. That's very well explained. Thank you very much. And so it's like the 7 deadly sins. Do you know the 7 deadly sins? Robert, are you?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh, you know, I'll give them to you. You don't have to name them. The 7 deadly sins are lust. Santa, write them down. Lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, pride. No jealousy. That's envy. Envy is actually the correct word. So basically, these 4 of the children are kind of represented in the 7 deadly sins. The 7 deadly sins comes from religion, and Charlie is basically innocent of these 7 deadly sins. So of course he wins. Is that correct?
Yeah, we can say that.
Did you like the story?
Very. It was, as I said before, it's quite relaxing. My credit I receive on Thursday, and I listen it almost twice. It's quite nice. It was pleasure to listen this, and I have to say that I choose this whole story at about 3.5 hours.
Okay, that's what my next question was. How long is the original? 3.5 hours. Not bad.
Quite good. And I have to say it quite easy. It's Penguin Readers publisher as well.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. That's good news. So everybody, if you're unable to buy the book that we are currently listening to, you still might want to invest in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory 3.5 hour version. It is a good listen. Now that's great. That's great. That's a really excellent. I really liked your introduction. All the details that you gave us were very good. Without mentioning names, it was actually very good.
I always have a problem with names.
You're not alone. Now, you guys are talking about movies now. 7. What the heck is 7? Isn't 7? You know, I lived in Korea, and there was a singer named 7, and that's how he spelt his name.
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt.
Yes.
It's Brad Pitt.
The actor, yeah.
Brad Pitt.
Brad.
It's just a joke. Brad Pitt. I know. All right. Thank you very much, Robert. I appreciate it. Now, Santa, go back to the story. The book. I'm sorry, the book. And next week, I'm sorry, 2 weeks later, everybody, James and the Giant Peach. That's the chapter we want you to listen to. I want you guys to do your best to get access to this book. Like like Santa mentioned earlier, one of our students who lives in, I can't remember the country. Is it Romania or Hungary? I think it was Hungary. Hungary, thank you. One of our students who lives in Hungary went to Audible and created a U.S. address. And she doesn't even live there, but she created a U.S. address and used her Hungarian, I don't know, Visa or credit card, and was able to look at the Audible bookstore, the American version. The American version has many, many more books than some of the European and other country versions. So she wasn't able. She was able to get any book that we were listening to. So I want you guys to give that a try. That's right. You don't need a physical address. So for Audible, it's fine. For Audible, it's fine. So like I told Robert, if he can set it up, go ahead and do that. and use that in the future for your Audible books. If Amazon or Audible ever says, hey, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? You can simply say, oh, I have a child who's going to study in the United States, and he doesn't have a credit card, so I'm going to be paying for it. You can just say something like that. It doesn't require any big lie, and for many people it's actually not a lie. So it's very convenient though that way. So that should help. So we've got 3 assignments. 2 weeks later, Chapter 2, James and the Giant Peach. And in the history, Chapter 5 and or Chapter 6. I do want summaries. I want, if you can, no longer than 5 minutes. No longer than 5 minutes, the summary. We don't like names. Try to avoid names. We don't like difficult vocabulary. Try to avoid difficult vocabulary. Find something easy. And that's it. It's not easy. It's a difficult task, but I want you to try. Remember, one thing to imagine when you're making a summary, imagine you're explaining the story to a child. That's one of the easiest ways to make a summary, to imagine that you're explaining the story to a child. Okay? Any questions? Once again, I want to say, especially to Rehab and Amir, thank you for joining us. I know it's your first time. I hope that you continue coming back, and I hope that you're able to get the books.
Yeah, hopefully, Shane. Actually, I'm trying a lot, but I'm failing. Even the last trick you've told us right now,
Yeah.
like you told us, create a US address. I'm trying it right now, but hopefully I will succeed.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah, it's so hard for me. You know, Sudan is under the US sanctions, so it's really, really hard to get that kind of situation.
My goodness. You know, the same thing with Iran. The same thing with Iran. They're under U.S. sanctions still. It's so ridiculously difficult.
Yes. Yeah, true. Really true.
If anyone, and you know, I don't know how to download the books. But if somebody is able to find an audiobook version, I don't mind you sharing it with somebody who comes to the Hangout. But don't go online and share it with anybody. But if somebody is actually coming to the Hangout and they live in a country like Sudan or Iran where they can't, where it's extremely difficult to get the book, and if somebody can help, please do.
Yes,
please do.
Yeah, please, everybody. I need your help.
Yeah. It's not a money thing. It's simply a legal thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shane. Thank you.
I understand. Santa told me, so I understand. And I'm sure the same with Amir, too. Everybody else, relatively, we're lucky we live in a country where you can access this stuff.
Yes, extremely lucky, actually. Yeah.
Your English is great. I imagine in Sudan, not everybody's English is great.
Oh, really? Thank you.
You sound rather British.
Oh, good. That's really good. Thank you. Very encouraging. Too perfect to say. Okay. So actually, no, not everybody is good like that. Yeah, but
Do a lot of Sudanese people actually speak French?
No.
So English is the typical language?
The second, yes, it's a second language. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, but French, French, Spanish, and Italian languages, these are becoming popular, especially among the teenagers. It's like trendy language, sort of trendy.
Right. Tell them to study on English. Tell them to focus on English.
Yes, hopefully they will do that. Yeah.
I'm just teasing. Well, once again, Gulia
Yes.
joined us late. Gulia, thank you for joining us, Gulia. Where are your kids right now? How are you able to join? We heard Camila earlier. Oh, Gulia's offline. There she is.
Yeah, Coach Shane, I'm sorry. It's too noisy here. Camille is right here on me. And to be honest, Coach Shane, I thought that I arrived to hang out in right time, but I was late for 1 hour, yeah?
A little bit late, yes.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's all right. Just to let Gulia know, and also Mahmoud, we do have a DDM live class starting in 40 minutes, so you will get invitations to that. Everybody else, if you're not a member of DDM, you should join if you can. It's a fantastic class. But in 2 weeks, we will be back again, and I'm going to stick with the same time. Unless you guys really can't do it, please send an email to Santa. Let me know. We're going to stick with the same time 2 weeks later to discuss Chapter 5 and 6 and Chapter 2. The mission, less than 5-minute summary. Keep it short. Avoid names. Avoid difficult vocabulary. Do your best to enjoy the stories. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Coach Shane.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Shane. Thank you, Santa. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Coach.
Absolutely. It's great to meet you, Amir.
Thank you. It's nice meeting you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care, Eva. Good to have you back.